4th, 2022 is now in session. The first order of business is to approve the minutes from the July 14th, 2022 meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any modifications or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
No opposition, that goes unanimous. Do we have any, we have resolutions too? No. Okay, so the board will now conduct the public hearings on today's agenda. The way we work it here is that first the applicant or the applicant's representative will state the reasons for the requested variance and present any material or documentation which is to be considered regarding the proposal. Next, persons wishing to speak in favor of the proposal will be given the opportunity to address the board. Then persons who wish to speak in opposition will be allowed to address the board. Finally, the applicant or a representative will be given the option to make any closing arguments or comments to the board. Following the public hearings this afternoon, the board may make a decision on each application heard. The board may also decide to hold its decision until the next public hearing. If the hearing is closed, no additional information will be allowed into the record except for information that the board may request. That information will be available for public review at the zoning office in City Hall Commons. Staff will now introduce the first application.
The first application today is V-16-01M2. It's an area variance request to waive required parking at property located at 910 to 912, 913 to 915 Park Street. A proposal to establish 7 dwelling units, 1 restaurant, 1 office, and 1 storage space. The owner applicant is House SY1 LLC, and the zoning district is local business class A.
Hello,
It's a
William
battery.
Pitcher.
It says low battery on this. Sorry.
William Pitcher at Pitcher Architect, 124 Fiegel Avenue, Syracuse, New York, representing the applicant. From the review by the various city departments, we have several waivers that we are asking for. This particular property had a hearing with the Planning Commission last meeting for the special permit for the bar. And so they're waiting for your resolution. And these are the items that were identified in the review. The off-street parking, we're requesting a waiver of that because we can only provide 11 spaces on the opposite side of the street. On drawing L2 at item C, the driveway entrance to the parking lot was closer to the intersection than 15 feet, and I redesigned that entrance so we don't need a waiver for that particular comment. On item D, that a driveway should be 30 feet away from the next driveway. Due to the size of the lots and the constraint of the site, we can't do 40 feet, and if we did, then we wouldn't be 15 feet, greater than 15 feet away from the intersection. So we're really squeezed in by the site.
So what distance can you do then?
We're showing a 16-foot entrance. The curb cut, that's the next item. The curb cut was 24 feet wide. We're reducing it to 6 feet, or 16 feet. The planting buffer along the street, that one we request a waiver, and that's because if we start taking out 6 or 8 feet, we're kind of losing a parking space. And instead of being able to park perpendicular, now we're doing parallel parking, and we're backing out into the road to get out of the parking lot. So we're asking for a waiver of the planting along the sidewalk edge of the parking lot. That waiver. Item G.
Look at that on,
Yeah,
do you
that's,
have a-
that's not with this board. This board's only looking at the required number of parking spaces. All of that other information and other requirements rest with the planning commission with respect to the special permit and the restaurant.
Then I'm done presenting.
Questions from the board?
How many parking spaces are in that property across the street?
There are 11,
Just 11?
yeah.
And
Next to the building, there is no parking, right?
It's not marked, I mean, on Division Street, it's an unimproved street. There's really no curb there, it's asphalt grass. But on-street parking is permitted on the Division side of the building.
When I was reading the case, it referred to a bar. And I just wanted to know, is it just a bar, or is it a bar and restaurant, and that reference was just to where the bar is located?
The alcohol laws of New York State require service of food. So it can either be catered food brought into the establishment or prepared on site. So they're just looking to prepare sandwiches and things like
So
that.
this is more of a bar than a
Yeah.
restaurant. I mean, I go back to Butler's Pantry, I remember that.
Yeah, there really aren't any dining tables. It's really chairs and couches and lounges.
Like a local bar sort
Yeah,
of place?
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Any other questions?
So seven residential units, a couple of commercial spaces, and the zero, we're waiving 7 parking spots that are required. Are there any, there's no other required parking for the commercial uses?
That rests with the Board of Zoning Appeals, or, you are
Planning
the Board
Commission.
of Zoning.
I am the Board of
Planning Commission.
She is.
Because they don't have jurisdiction over waiving required parking for residential under a special permit use review.
Okay.
So they will have to consider, based on what you do today, is there enough parking for all the uses combined?
So we were just looking at a small scope of the parking situation.
Right,
Got
but
it.
we, of course, want to make you aware of the comprehensive project so that you can look at it in a holistic way.
Got it. Okay.
Other questions? Thank you, Mr. Pacheco. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak in favor of this project?
Would you like the applicant to speak?
Yeah, so he's not speaking, he's with you on this?
Yeah.
Okay. And-
I'm sorry I was running late. I just got out of work. My name is Sean Nelson. I live at 108 Hobart Ave, Syracuse, New York. I drive for Lehi Hansen, a cement ready mix driver. I've been driving CDL for about 10 years. Side jobs I did as a brand ambassador for liquor promoting companies. I promoted for companies like Hennessy, Ciroc, Budweiser, Seagram, things like that. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I moved to Syracuse. I'm trying to...
Queens.
Huh?
I'm from Queens.
Oh, okay. I gave this to the planning commission. I just had it reprinted because I didn't know if you guys could get the link. I didn't know if I can hand these out. These are like petitions. I went through a website, a nonprofit website called change.org. I sent it in the link email so people can click on it. A lot of people ask me why I didn't have hand signatures, because COVID times, you can't just go to everybody's door and ask for a signature. So you send out a link or tell them, hey, listen, go to this website, sign in favor of opening. I have over 376 signatures of people.
People that are just saying we're in favor of it.
Yes.
Yes, you're welcome to give us a copy of that. Even one is fine, and we'll pass it around and give it.
I brought 10.
Okay, fine. We only need 4. Yeah. Thank you. So my question, it's just, you're getting all these people to say that they're in favor of it.
Yes.
Have you experienced any opposition from neighbors? Have you spoken to neighbors?
Actually, I talked to all the neighbors. I haven't received any opposition. The neighbors, basically saying it was an eyesore of the building, sitting there. Every other business owner, I have their phone number. We're in communication. They're all in favor of this. So I haven't had any opposition.
And you own the building?
No, I don't.
Oh,
own
so
the
you're
building.
gonna be the bar? You're
Yes.
gonna own the bar?
Yes.
Okay. And, again, one thing I wrote, I read, what are the hours?
6 to 2. Sundays, we're gonna do like brunches, mimosa brunches, things like that. So it'll be a morning hours. I don't have the hours written down. That's on the
But
form.
then, okay, 2 a.m. time?
Yes.
Yeah, right, okay. And as far as the parking goes, how many, will you take as many people as you can get, or is there a limit?
There'll be a this, what we came out with, probably putting cones outside to designate like, hey, listen, once the parking is finished, if you do park on an off street, this is the side, so it's never an issue of, parking on the wrong side or anything like that. But that neighborhood, I canvassed that neighborhood a lot. There's not a lot of off-street parking. Most of the neighbors have driveways, so it's not really an issue of the parking.
Other questions?
So you would be expecting people to come from Ohio and Utah and Georgia to this?
No, some people just have, so you click on the change.org, you just put in your email address, name. I seen Ohio, things like that. Some people just probably had it last registered as that. I don't know.
They like to participate in these.
Yes.
surveys, yeah.
Los Angeles, really?
Yeah, but it's mostly Syracuse, and that's fine. It's a good way for you to promote your business too. So. No other questions? Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anybody who wishes to speak against the application?
So,
Your name
thank
and
you,
your address,
everybody.
please.
My name is Jonathan Link Logan. I live at 141 Lilac Street, which is about a third of a mile away from where this establishment is being proposed to be opened. I would like to start by saying I'm not opposed to a bar. For myself, I enjoy going to a bar every now and again. I just don't think that this is the right place for this location, and I would like to expand on that a little bit. So I've lived in this neighborhood since late 2008 in a home that has been owned by my family for over 100 years. I'm pretty familiar with what's happening in the neighborhood, especially along this block. Unfortunately, this is, especially this intersection in particular, is a location that in the last several years has had a lot of issues with very violent crime. There have been shootings. There was actually a shootout earlier this year right down this block, very close to Franklin School. There have been stabbings. There was a murder recently. So I just feel like that's important context for why I feel that this is not an appropriate location for this establishment. I think that there are other places in the neighborhood that would be more appropriate, but at this particular spot, given the constraints that are currently happening, I think that it's a poor choice. I know parking is the thing that is in front of you today, so I just wanted to raise a few things. I know that there are 11 spaces in that parking lot across the street that it's part of this project. 7 of those I could imagine would be reserved for the residential tenants who live upstairs in the building, leaving 4 available for the establishment itself. I would imagine that those 4 would be insufficient for the number of people who would be coming here when you factor in both employees and the visitors. So that kind of makes me question, where do those other folks park? This area of the north side, in particular, these couple of blocks, while it is zoned business, local business, is largely a residential neighborhood. So those folks would be parking in people's front yards, on the side streets. There are families who live here, and so having to be a space where people from outside of the neighborhood are coming in and then leaving at all hours of the day at various levels of intoxication is probably not something that folks would want to be living next to when they're a family who's trying to, get a good night's sleep and then go to work in the morning. I think that it's perhaps also a concern for this location from a parking perspective, because a block down is Franklin School. That on Park Street is where a lot of the people who pick up and drop off their kids every day queue up. And so I could see this being a spot where there could potentially be parking conflicts in that area for people who are both patrons of the establishment and people who are coming and trying to get their kids. The last thing that I would say is that while I understand that this gentleman is saying that he will put out cones to try and keep people to remember what sides of the streets to park on, experience tells me that that isn't a very effective way to do that. And I think it could be reasonable to expect that people will park on both sides of the street, both on Park and in the surrounding neighborhoods, creating additional congestion, because frankly, we're creatures of habit and we don't like to walk far places to our end destination. So if it's convenient to park on the other side of the street, you're just going to do that. I would like to close by saying that I think that I want the business to be successful. I want someone who's investing their own time and money into this business to have the best possible chance at success. And I think locating it in this location, when you're narrowly looking at the parking constraints, but at some of these broader constraints, it's setting yourself up with a big uphill battle. And so I think that choosing another location that's more of a commercial corridor that provides maybe some of that parking and some of the other things would be a better location. So
You said that you live a third of a mile away.
I do.
So you're not really in the immediate neighborhood?
I am not an immediate neighbor, but it's a small town. I can hear the fireworks that go off all the time over on that block. So it's I'm close enough.
Now, I don't have a map in front of me. Where is Lilac in conjunction to Park Street? How many blocks away?
It is 2 blocks away.
2 blocks.
Yeah. So I'm on Lilac, go to Mary, 2 blocks up, you're up.
You were around, I suppose, when Dancers was in that building.
I was, Dancers predates me. There has not been an establishment in that building since I've lived here. There was a Vietnamese sign up on it, so that at some point in the most recent past, there was a Vietnamese restaurant there, but that was not open during the time that I've lived here, and I've lived here for 14 years.
Was that a problem when the Vietnamese restaurant was there?
It was not open when I was here, so I don't know.
I see. So there's been nothing in that spot?
No,
Yeah.
no. Which, to this gentleman's point, having an eyesore in the community is a drag on the community. It is something that is not welcomed. We would like to see something happen there. I just think that a bar is not the right thing for that, given the challenges that this particular intersection literally has had over the past several years. I think it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who wishes to speak against the application? Hearing none, I invite the applicant to make a closing statement if they like.
I want to add some more things to what he said. He said there's a lot of crime in the neighborhood. There are no businesses. A lot of businesses are scared.
Over to the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. A lot of businesses, there was a lot of crime in the neighborhood. Once I took over, I installed over 32 cameras there. I'm in contact with the captain of police, Fune and Yarima. I think he just retired. And you open businesses in areas is a deterrent to crime, because now they know it's cameras and other things going on. More people are aware. There's more visual to report. So people are less inclined to do crime if they see more witnesses, as they would say. As far as the parking with the school, I drove for school buses. I drove 7 years for First Student. I trained most of their drivers. The school down the street, we're planning to open at 6 p.m. The school will be closed. Late school there ends at 5:15. So there would never be an issue of the parking dealing with the school. And all the neighbors, that's why I reach out to every neighbor. I knocked on every neighbor's door. I'm in communication with them. They're all in favor of this. They said, since I've been in that neighborhood, it used to be a lot of people standing on the corner. I end up pushing them all out. I come outside, hey, listen, you guys can't stand here. And then once everything closed down, they came back. And I feel like us being open, we're bringing jobs to the community. Me and my fiance also own a nonprofit. So a lot of times across the street in the parking lot, we do clothing drives. We give back, to the homeless. So we're bringing a lot to this community and trying to upbring it, not just, open a bar and cause ruckus. We have a lot more going on. And I'm from Brooklyn, so I'm just trying to give Syracuse a different atmosphere. We are going to do cooking. I was going to do jump into the Syracuse Wing Harbor Fest. I have a Brownsville, I call it a Best Eye wing sauce. I've been known to cook. Like when I go on Facebook, I go live, I get about 5,000 views. I've been known to cook. I have experience in so many different things, from managing, CDL driving, like my list goes on. There's so many things I can do, and I know I can handle this situation of any upcoming problem. Like I said, I'm in contact with the police, Sergeant Blake as well. So I know they would be willing to help and make sure everything's a deterrent in this area, because if we don't do something, it's just gonna deter more. And everybody's gonna keep pointing the finger instead of standing up and trying to do something better to change these areas. In order to change the areas, you gotta start bringing more into the area, more positive into the area.
Can I just interrupt? Now, your role is to run the bar restaurant, or are you the property manager for the whole place?
No, just to run the bar restaurant. I signed the lease for this property in 2018. This is how long I had it. I've been working, so on the weekends I go in, I fix up a little of this, I do a little of that. So this has been a 4-year process for me. I leased the property. The property manager, his name is Mike Slater. The owner lives in Brooklyn. So this has been like a lifelong dream for me as well. And I put a lot into this. It's not something I want to just, let go easy. 4 years I've been dealing with this property, paying rent on it, going to work. I work about 12, 14 hours a day. I come home, I, go take care of things. So this is not just something I'm just gonna like push to the side, like I don't care about this.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
You want to say something, Mr. Kitcher?
Just to mention, currently, of the 7 apartments, only 2 of the tenants have cars. So that would leave 9 spaces currently available for the bar. And again, with the school parking, the hours, I think will present less conflict.
Is the apartments totally rented now?
3. There's only 3 apartments rented.
Yeah.
No. He just recently got more. It's 5 total now. Because he had 2 for a while. I came back, he had a couple more. But it's only 2 tenants with cars.
I drove by yesterday, there was a door on the second floor that doesn't seem to go anywhere, and the door was open. And I don't suppose that's an occupied apartment. How much of the buildings are vacant now? Well, that's the apartment section, but the whole building.
If you look at the floor plan, basically, I think that the space that's labeled as office, I don't think that's being used. That was, when it was approved last time, that was basically space for the management of the building, for the building owner. So I think that is vacant. And the final space, the rear space, is labeled as storage for the property. So we really just have the bar and the 7 apartments that are really occupied space at the moment.
Anything in the second floor occupied? Or
There are apartments on the second floor, yes, of both buildings. There's actually 2 buildings. There's the bar building, second floor, and then there's the adjacent house, second floor.
attached?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm going to close the case, and because of my schedule, we're going to go to the deliberation on this case now. Is there a motion? I would like a motion.
Heather, we have the ability to, because the parking lot across the street is part of the project as a whole, to require spots over there, right? So we could say we need 4 spots over there for residential, designated residential.
You could not grant the waiver, and then that would mean he's got to provide parking somewhere, whether it's across the street or not.
So we can't grant the waiver with, instead of 7, instead of 0, we
Yes,
could do.
Could we do
partial
condition?
waiver?
We do
Can we do
4.
conditions?
Yeah.
Okay.
You could do that.
Is there a motion?
Well, I would make a motion to deny, but
Is there a second on that? Hearing none, I'm going to ask for another motion. Okay, this is where I come in. I'll make a motion to approve. I don't make motions often, but I'm in a hurry.
You can hold it. If you don't have enough information and you feel that you need
I,
better explanation, you can hold this until your next hearing
I-
and see what the planning
but-
commission does about the restaurant.
but don't we need a motion to discuss that?
You can
Can we discuss before we make a motion?
You can make a motion to hold it.
Yeah.
Yep,
The planning commission was waiting for our decision.
that's what I heard from this. And I think
It
we
doesn't
have.
mean that you have to make a decision right this
No, no, we
moment.
understand that, but,
Yes.
I mean,
No. If you do not have enough
If somebody-
information about the
We don't have-
hardship and meeting all of those variance, those area variance tests, and you need more information or you'd like to discuss it, that is perfectly fine. You can hold this.
yeah, okay. Karen has something to say.
I'll make a motion to hold.
I'll second.
Okay, so my discussion is, what are the issues? I think it's pretty.
We've heard from someone who is going to lease a part of the building. We
Yeah.
haven't heard from the owner and gotten a larger view of the entire project.
Okay, so, okay, so we want to ask to speak to the owner
I'd like to hear more from someone.
about the entire project, because it's not only about the bar, or
That's right, it's not only about
the
the bar.
variance is not only about the bar.
Variance is in fact not at all about the bar.
Okay, then fine, then that's a good clarification for me. That's your rationale?
Yes, but.
Okay. Oh, no, it's yours, so you have to
Yeah.
provide a bit of a rationale.
I know, but you didn't ask me. So, I agree with what Mike said. More information
More information.
from the owner.
Yeah, okay. Let's be clear on the information that we want, so to help the applicant.
For me, I think it would be helpful to I understand we're looking at this in a bit of a vacuum because we only have a small portion of this to consider, but thinking about the totality of the project and the parking impacts, 11 spaces for 7 units plus a business, I think we have, and in a neighborhood center, there's some reasonable expectation of street parking, but I think we've all seen places in the city. I think a better parking mitigation plan or something else to provide a bit more context for where cars will go inevitably.
So,
From the
Mr. Pitcher, you don't get to speak again.
Oh.
Okay. So, Mr. Pitcher, I would imagine, was here representing the project.
Right.
So maybe we didn't ask the right questions.
Well, I think that you do have to think about the totality of the land uses and the intensity of each.
I mean, I'll be candid with you guys, I'm stuck on the area variance test 4. Because I do think there will be an adverse effect. I don't think it's the problem of your business necessarily. I think it's just there's not enough parking for a business and for residential units as is, let alone with waivers. So I would just have a hard time getting through the variance test balancing.
So, fine. So, Mr. Pitcher, you get the picture of what we need in another hearing, or?
Quite sure
Yeah,
what you're
okay.
looking for.
I mean, I don't know if there is other information or if we just need to make do some sort of partial waiver and let the planning commission do what they need to do. We could hold it, or I could make a motion for a partial waiver.
What is a partial waiver?
4, instead of 0, we would require them to have 4 for the residential, or 3.
What's the practical impact of that?
4 parking spaces designated for the residential units.
Oh, I see.
So that's that's keeping the tenants.
Yeah, they gotta park somewhere.
They gotta park somewhere too, and we only have the scope of the residential waiver. We don't have to do 0, we don't have to do 7, there's,
Make a motion.
Well, we have a motion on the floor.
Yeah.
So what do we do? Vote on that?
You have a second?
Unless you withdraws it.
You want to withdraw?
Yes, right now you have a motion to hold and a second to hold and some discussion. So
Right.
you should vote on whether or not you want to hold this for more information, for more clarity, to discuss the totality of the intensity of the land uses or whatever other reasons that you would
Okay.
like to hold this. Maybe waiting for the planning commission. We could give your comments to the planning commission, but that motion is on the table right now.
Okay, so to that end, maybe Heather, you could talk to Mr. Pitcher and make sure he knows what we're looking for.
I think what we're looking for is more context. So if the planning commission and us need to have some sort of communication where we tell them what we're thinking and they can consider that, then
We're telling them they need 4 spaces.
well, right now we're holding it,
Oh, I
but,
thought I thought they were withdrawing the whole.
but we would be holding in order to have further communication with the planning commission to get to a reasonable solution on both sides.
Okay, I'm gonna call the question. All is in favor of holding, for the different reasons that you discussed, which are waiting for the planning commission and collaborating with them. Say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so, we're holding this. Mr. Pitcher, if you have questions, talk to Heather. Okay, next, new business. I got a couple of minutes.
This is a use variance modification V8235M1. This is at 4902 South State Street to maintain the 6-family dwelling with some floor plan modifications. The Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation is the owner and applicant. It's residential class A1, so you will have already voted on this. The attorney, Robert Romeo, is here today, I believe, speaking about an easement agreement with the property next door.
You mentioned South State Street, South Salina Street.
Oh, sorry.
Am I right? Right.
Yes, you are right.
I'm in the right place. Thank you. Yes,
Your name and address, please.
Yes,
Mr.
Robert Romeo. I'm an attorney. I represent Rock, responsive to our community, the owners of the premises. And I've been asked to come over just to update the board about the status of this reciprocal easement agreement that's been out there for some time. I was contacted by the managing member of Rock, who's out of the country presently, to try to get this easement agreement, completed and filed. So it got completed. It's an easement agreement. It's notarized. It's signed by, actually, the same party owns both properties, so they signed it together. But it's been signed and notarized properly. The problem is we sent it over. One of the members of the organization went over to file it, and they won't accept the filing without the site plan being attached. They call it the site plan. But as far as I understand, when you file an easement, you have to file a site plan being a survey of the easement and or a legal description of the easement. So I went into the file just now, and I found 2 surveys, side-by-side surveys of the 2 properties. They're not in one, and they don't describe the driveway as as an easement in particular. I'm going to try to file that today or tomorrow, with that being the quote-unquote site plan, and if that's the case and they accept it, that's fine. But I've also contacted the surveyor, who's from Casnovia, to see if he can get me a true site plan of the actual easement, of the actual driveway, and a legal description of it. That may take some time to do. So I'm going to try one more time to just file these 2 copies of these 2 easements of the 2 different properties, or excuse me, surveys of the 2 different properties, adjacent properties, as being the site plan. The county clerk may very well accept that, and that may be the end of it.
So, staff, Heather, is this a reason for us to hold this, or can we still approve the modification?
Well, the modifications really at hand have to do with the building and the floor plan changes, and which are minor in nature, but a condition of your previous approval was to file this easement. So if you look at page 46, what Mr. Romeo is talking about is really the property at 4898 should have its own property survey with an easement filed and outlined and identified at the county clerk's office to allow 4902 to use that parking. So it encroaches over, if you see where the line is. So that's what he needs to get from the surveyor so he can file it at the county clerk's office. that was a condition of the original one. So you can just re-acknowledge that condition, but it came up because I think they were trying to get a building permit, right? And we said that condition was not satisfied, and then noticed, oh, by the way, you have some floor plan changes here in addition. So they are two separate but related items, but I think Mr. Romeo was here to explain the easement part, that they are working on that, and you are really looking at the floor plan changes.
Yeah, because it says minor modification to the floor plan.
Yeah.
Split levels between the front and rear of the structure resulting in some measurement errors in the kitchen stairways.
If the easement isn't ultimately filed, then the decision is null and void,
Yeah.
no matter what, but really,
Just make it conditional on a file, and we'll file it.
yeah,
It's just-
which was your previous condition.
Yep.
I'll make a motion.
Make one.
I'll make a motion to approve with a condition that, continuing condition that the easement be approved.
Is there a second?
Filed, yeah.
Fine.
I will second.
Okay, and I don't think we need much of a rationale, but you just rationalize.
No.
The changes are minor, other than, and we're still waiting for the easement to be.
All those in favor of approving the modification with that condition, say aye.
Aye.
No noes. For
Thank you.
now, we're set.
For now, we're set. I'll get on it again, and I'll keep after the surveyor and see if we can get that filed right away.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you so much.
Okay, authorizations. There are 1, 2, 3. You've got the new sheet?
Half because they want.
Yes.
Well, if he's back next time, sure. Motion to approve the authorizations.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion to, aye. Unanimous. Motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Adjourn. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to stay.
I have to go sit in front of a screen
So,
and then say,
What is
put
the-
on my daughter or something like that.
the planning commission's considering, what is the parking waiver the planning commission is considering?
I'm
I
old,
don't think it worked.
Okay.
but it's on TV, right? And
It's on TV.
It's on
yeah.
video.
It's on TV.
Okey dokey.
Spaces. I'm not hearing Jackson.
Yeah, it's on. Can you get by?